In the modern age, how can a massive passenger jet carrying 239 people simply disappear? More than a decade later, despite satellites, radar systems, and the largest search operation in aviation history, the mystery of Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 remains unsolved.
On March 8, 2014, everything appeared completely ordinary. At Kuala Lumpur International Airport, passengers boarded Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, a Boeing 777 scheduled to fly to Beijing. Families said goodbye, flight attendants prepared the cabin, and experienced Captain Zahari Ahmed Shah and First Officer Farik Hamid completed their routine procedures. There were 239 people on board, including passengers from several countries. Nothing seemed unusual. The Boeing 777 itself had one of the safest reputations in commercial aviation. Weather conditions were favorable, and the flight plan had been approved without any concerns. At 12:41 in the morning, MH370 lifted off into the night sky. Nobody inside the aircraft could have imagined that this ordinary journey would soon become one of the greatest mysteries of the 21st century.
For the first part of the flight, everything proceeded normally. The aircraft climbed to cruising altitude and maintained regular communication with air traffic control. Then, shortly after entering the handoff between Malaysian and Vietnamese airspace, one final message was transmitted. "Good night, Malaysian 370. Those words sounded completely routine. Nothing in the voice indicated panic or distress. There was no emergency call, no warning, no sign that anything unusual was happening. Minutes later, the aircraft's transponder stopped transmitting. Suddenly, MH370 vanished from civilian radar. At first, confusion spread between control centers. Each side assumed the other was tracking the aircraft. Precious time passed before anyone realized something was terribly wrong. By then, flight MH370 had already disappeared. Investigators initially believed the aircraft had crashed somewhere along its planned route. But military radar data soon revealed something shocking. After disappearing from civilian radar, the Boeing 777 had made a dramatic turn. Instead of continuing toward Beijing, the aircraft had crossed back over the Malay Peninsula and headed toward the Andaman Sea. This unexpected maneuver changed everything. Such a turn suggested that somebody inside the cockpit had intentionally altered the route. Investigators around the world were stunned. Had the pilots changed course? Had someone hijacked the aircraft? Or was there another explanation nobody had considered? The mystery was becoming deeper with every new discovery.
Even though the aircraft had disappeared from radar, one system continued to receive faint electronic signals. The British satellite company Inmarsat discovered that MH370 had exchanged automatic signals with a satellite for nearly 7 hours after its disappearance. These tiny electronic handshakes became some of the most important clues in aviation history. By analyzing these signals, experts calculated 2 possible paths. One route stretched north into Central Asia. The other extended deep into the southern Indian Ocean. As more evidence was analyzed, investigators became increasingly convinced that the aircraft had flown south. Somewhere over one of the most remote regions on Earth, MH370 had likely continued flying in complete darkness.
Soon, an enormous international search effort began. Australia, China, Malaysia, the United States, and many other countries joined the operation. Ships crossed vast stretches of ocean. Military aircraft scanned the sea. Satellites searched for debris. Advanced underwater vehicles explored the seabed. Hundreds of millions of dollars were spent. Millions of square kilometers were examined. Yet nothing was found. Weeks turned into months. Months turned into years.
Despite unprecedented efforts, the aircraft itself remained missing. It was as if a Boeing 777 had simply vanished from the face of the earth.
While search teams worked across the ocean, families faced a different kind of nightmare. Relatives gathered in hotels, hoping for answers. Many refused to believe their loved ones were gone. Some waited for phone calls that never came. Others protested, demanding transparency from officials. In Beijing, emotional scenes unfolded as desperate families sought information. Anger and grief mixed with confusion. For the people left behind, the mystery was not just a global headline, it was deeply personal. Behind every seat number was a human story, and behind every unanswered question was a family still waiting for closure.
More than a year after the disappearance, something unexpected happened. On Reunion Island, thousands of kilometers away from the search area, a damaged wing component washed ashore. Experts confirmed that the fragment belonged to MH370. It was the first physical evidence that the aircraft had indeed crashed somewhere in the Indian Ocean. Later, additional debris appeared along the coasts of Mozambique, Madagascar, and Tanzania. Ocean currents had carried these fragments across enormous distances. But despite these discoveries, investigators still lacked the one thing they desperately needed: the main wreckage. Without the wreckage, many questions remained unanswered. As the investigation continued, attention increasingly focused on Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah. He was highly experienced and respected, but investigators discovered that he owned an advanced flight simulator in his home. Media reports revealed that certain flight paths stored inside the simulator appeared to resemble portions of the southern Indian Ocean. Some believed this pointed toward a deliberate act. Others argued that simulation routes proved nothing. Friends and relatives described Zahari as professional and passionate about aviation. No definitive evidence ever emerged, and without clear proof, speculation continued to divide experts and investigators around the world. Another theory suggested that nobody intended to disappear at all. Some experts proposed that a sudden loss of cabin pressure may have deprived everyone on board of oxygen. Known as hypoxia, this condition can quickly impair judgment and eventually lead to unconsciousness. If both pilots and passengers became incapacitated, the aircraft's autopilot could have continued flying for hours. Eventually, fuel exhaustion would have caused the engines to stop. The aircraft would then have descended silently into the ocean. A similar tragedy had occurred years earlier with Helios Airways Flight 522. For many investigators, this scenario remains one of the most plausible explanations. Yet once again, there is no conclusive proof. As years passed, countless theories emerged. Some people believed terrorists had hijacked the plane. Others suspected secret military operations. Some suggested hidden cargo or electronic warfare. The internet became flooded with speculation. But despite countless claims, no theory has ever been supported by definitive evidence. Perhaps that is what makes MH370 so fascinating. In a world where technology tracks almost everything, one of the largest passenger aircraft ever built disappeared without leaving behind clear answers. And that uncertainty continues to fuel endless debate.
Even after official operations ended, the search was not completely abandoned. Private companies such as Ocean Infinity introduced new technology and autonomous underwater robots capable of exploring areas previously inaccessible. Researchers continued analyzing ocean currents. Experts revisited satellite data. Families continued demanding answers. Many investigators believe the wreckage can still be found. Some are convinced that only one discovery separates humanity from finally understanding what happened. And somewhere beneath the waters of the Indian Ocean, that answer may still be waiting. More than a decade has passed since Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 disappeared. Technology has advanced. Investigators have come and gone. The world has changed. But one mystery remains. Somewhere in the darkness beneath the ocean lies the final chapter of a story involving 239 lives. Perhaps one day, the wreckage will be found. Perhaps the answers will finally emerge. Until then, MH370 remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in modern history. And for the families who are still searching for closure, the story is not over.